Hello, BookTube. Probably feeling a bit of stress right now, aren't you? How about we retreat into books? How about we talk about books? I've got a bunch of mail here. Let's just go through the mail and see if there's anything in here that can distract us from everything in the world, from all the headlines, from all the stupidity, from all the dark stuff. I'll go through the mail, and then when I'm done, I will vigorously clean my hands. So I don't know how long the mail will keep going. I mean, mail comes from mailrooms, right? It comes from great, hardworking people in shipping and receiving departments. If they get told to stay home, there'll be no more mail for the foreseeable future. But in the meantime, we can look at these and just pretend, just get all enthused about books. So this first one is from Harvard University Press. Its pub date is for the first week of April. We've seen it already as an advanced copy, and this is the finished copy of Why We Act: Turning Bystanders into Moral Rebels by Catherine Sanderson. We are bombarded every day by reports of bad behavior, from sexual harassment to political corruption to bullying belligerents. It's tempting to blame evil acts on evil people, but that leaves the rest of us off the hook. Silence, after all, can perpetuate cruelty. This author is a renowned psychologist, and she draws on the latest developments in psychology and neuroscience to tackle an urgent question. Why do so many of us fail to intervene when we're needed, and what would it take to make us step up? Cutting-edge neuroscience offers part of the answer, showing us how deviating from the group activities the same receptors in the brain that are triggered by pain. So this author is claiming that the same receptors in your brain that are triggered by pain are triggered when you deviate from the herd. I don't for a minute believe that. I'm sure that I'm 99% sure that the book will add crucial nuances to that, since that is obviously not true. You do not feel physical pain when you deviate from the herd. You feel physical pain when you're in physical pain. And there's a very good reason why your nervous system would segregate that feeling to just that one thing. But we'll see. The author probably, I haven't read the advanced copy of this yet, so Sanderson also points out to the ways in which our faulty assumptions about what other people are thinking can paralyze us. Yes. I don't do this sort of thing. I haven't in quite some time. If I see something wrong, something that needs action, I do it right away. I act myself. I don't know why that is. I know I can tell you exactly when that started, and maybe that has something to do with it. I know exactly when I started doing that. I had a very discrete moment. It was at a time in my life when I thought that I had only months to live. And that suddenly clarified my thinking completely. All of a sudden I started thinking, well, you just saw a parent belt their kid in the face on a subway? Get up. Separate them from the kid. Ask the kid if they want some help. Tell the adult that if they do it again in your sight, you'll belt them. And that what goes around comes around. This is just physical force. Act immediately if somebody falls down, if somebody needs something, if somebody needs money. Act immediately if you can. I don't know if that's the kind of all or nothing neural receptor that the author is talking about here. We shall see. I will read this, of course. I think this is an example of how probably everything that we see in this mail hall is going to have an added and maybe unwelcome resonance, because we're all facing a catastrophe. And we're all facing it together. And quite a bit of what's making the catastrophe worse is the stupidity of the people who are in charge of acting. So it makes it feel all the more frustrating on this exact same point. Okay, all right, well, this next one is not going to have any unexpected resonance. This is just a delight. Oh, man, okay. Okay, this is fantastic. Great. I have talked on this channel many times about W.W. Norton, my favorite non-Penguin publisher, and I've talked also about Norton Critical Editions, which show you the book, and then the back chunk of the book is critical essays. If it's an older work, it will give you contemporary responses to that work. What were the first reviews? What were the first critical responses to the work? If it's a work based on some sort of historical precedent, it will give you that. It will give you the appropriate selection from Holinshed's histories for Shakespeare or something like that. And the editions themselves the book itself is heavily annotated. And this is fantastic. I did not know this was coming. This is the New Norton Critical edition of the Robert Levine edition of The House of the Seven Gables by Nathaniel Hawthorne, which I know that every single one of you probably was made to read The Scarlet Letter, but I think this is his masterpiece. And a deeply powerful novel, a deeply weird, powerful novel. I don't at all like the cover, but hardly the cover says don't read this book. Imagine handing this to a college freshman. The cover gives you no indication whatsoever of the subversive and wild emotions on the inside of the book. None whatsoever. So the cover is poorly chosen, but the book is incredible. And this edition, I guess this is well known. I do not know that I have this edition. Let's see here. Well, who is Robert Levine? That would help. It would help to know that. Distinguished University Professor of English and Distinguished Scholar Teacher at the University of Maryland, College Park. And the author of many, many books, including books on Frederick Douglass. Great. Okay. He's the general editor of the Norton Anthology of American Literature. Okay. Fantastic. Well, this is the pub sheet here is just a note from the publicist. I get the impression from the note that the book is probably a March release. So I will have an opportunity to do a reread, which is what I absolutely love. I mention that all the time on this channel, that the publishing industry gives me almost all the rereading that I would ever need. If I needed to, I go to used bookstores anyway, but I wouldn't need to. Let's see here. Okay. All right, this next one is a work of history, coming out in July. God only knows what the world would be like in July. God only knows what it will be like. But this is by Norman Ohler, and it's called The Bohemians, the lovers who led Germany's resistance against the Nazis. Let's see here. It comes out in mid-July, and the author is apparently a best-selling author. Oh, he's the author of Blitzed, Drugs in the Third Reich, which was an international bestseller, and which was everybody read it, everybody reviewed it, everybody had a lot of fun with that book. Oh, wow, okay, great. So this is that author's next book. Sure, a lot of you have seen Blitzed. This tells the incredible true story of an idealistic and trailblazing young couple who led the anti-Nazi resistance in Berlin. Wow, a white-knuckle spy tale set in war-torn Europe and propelled by whirlwind romance. Okay. All right, fantastic. Well, here's hoping that lightning strikes twice for this guy, because he earned a lot of goodwill with Blitzed. Great. All right, so resistance in Nazi Germany. Okay. Let's just move on here. Some of these packages are, well, the worse for wear, so I will, once again, in case any of you are tempted to worry, I will be cleaning my hands. Before I do anything with them, I'll be getting up and cleaning my hands after this. Okay, this comes out in early April. It is a classic. Oh man, it's lovely. This is the Bible. This is the Peterson Guide to the Birds of North America, Roger Tory Peterson. This is the second edition with the tough plastic binding, the tough laminated pages, the illustrations of not only each species but different genders and different molting periods, different maturation periods for so many. This is the ultimate identification guide. A little bit big, but well worth cramming in your backpack to go out and tramp around looking, because you're going to want to note things in your Peterson guide. Oh, fantastic. Incredible. The best-selling field guide is back. This new edition of the popular and trusted guide for birders of all levels features 25 new plates covering the birds of Hawaii. How nice. In addition to including wonderful and exotic species in our 50th state, this revised edition includes updated text and range maps. Are you ready to give bird watching a try? Are you? Here are some questions to get you started. What is a bird's size? What is the size of the bird you have in mind? What is the bird's shape? What are the shapes of its wings? What shape is its bill, its tail? How does it behave? Does it climb trees? How does it fly? Can it swim? Oh, fantastic. Okay. All right, the Peterson's Guide. Enough said. I had the earlier Peterson's Guide, and use the daylights out of it, tramping everywhere. I never had much luck because I was always sort of with dogs, and birds don't like to make themselves all too readily available for dogs. So I got to know raptors, birds of prey, especially owls. I got to know them rather well because they don't care. Especially now, oh my God, the hawks in the parks near here are positively arrogant when I go out for walks now, because I'm walking a little 10-pound ball of lint. I'm walking Frida. And she looks and acts just like the kind of thing they like to swoop down and eat. Oh. Was a hawk gonna eat you? Huh? Oh. No, I hope not. It took me a while. It took me almost a year to rejigger my instincts, to realize that my dog might be watched by a big Cooper's hawk or red-tailed hawk who might just be blurring me out of the equation. I mean, to a certain extent, the instincts take off, right? And a big male bird of prey as big as she is might think, well, yeah, there are humans around, but I don't care. My instincts are zeroing in on that little thing that's the size of a rabbit that's wandering around in broad daylight. The bird might effectively not even see me. And oh my, okay, great. All right, this is the paperback release. We saw this when it came out originally, I believe. This is now out in paperback at the end of March. This is by Edgar Feuchtwanger, and this is Hitler, My Neighbor, Memories of a Jewish Childhood, 1929 to 1939. So this comes out at the end of March, and this has a bunch of blurbs from its hardcover release. Great. All right. So 2 World War II things. Two items from World War II. I wonder if that's going to stay true. More nature would be nice, because when things are going rough in the world, I like to retreat into reading about nature myself. Okay, great. All right, fantastic. Ask and you shall receive. All right, this is the finished copy. This also comes out at the end of March. This is something we've seen before in advance copy. This is by Stefano Mancuso, and this is more translated literature. It's translated by Gregory Conti, and this is The Incredible Journey of Plants, a new book about everything you wanted to know about plants and were afraid to ask. So we've got birds and plants. Many of us know very little about plants, and it turns out that the little we do know is often wrong. In this delightfully wry and absorbing overview, leading plant neurobiologist and author Stefano Mancuso shares fascinating stories from throughout history, from the polar ice caps to the middle of the desert, desolate islands, and ground zero of Hiroshima. All places where plants have thrived. Okay. So some of the bullet points here are how humans saved the avocado from going extinct. Unfortunately, we also did the same thing so far for all of the avocado's biggest fans. They also are not currently extinct. You take the good with the bad, I guess. How the zone of alienation around the sites of Chernobyl disaster has become one of the most biologically diverse territories in the former Soviet Union. With the quote being here, it seems humans are much more harmful than radiation. Wow. Okay, the magic of seeds, tiny capsules capable of protecting the living embryo in water, under ice, and in the hot desert without air, nutrients, or shelter for years. The sad tale of the beloved dodo. Why would a dodo be in a book about the journey of plants? I guess I'll find out. Old Tijiko, which at about 7,000 to 10,000 years old is the oldest tree in the world. Good Lord. Okay, so this is going to be full of fascinating stuff. That's great. And I have the advanced copy of this, and I haven't got to it. That's terrible. But it's a March book, and I am powering my way through March. And it looks to me like we're going to have a lot of time on my hands, even more than usual. The few outings that I have in the adult world, the put-on pants world, look to me like they're all going to get canceled until further notice. So somebody was joking. Somebody joked on Twitter yesterday that they're going to get a chance. This viral outbreak is going to give people a chance to act like Steve. This is dangerous. Be careful. Although it's worth remembering that stress is bad. Even when there's a bad situation, stress doesn't make it any better. It makes you worse. It makes you weaker. Even physically, it plays bloody hob on all of your body systems. So do what you can to avoid stress. It just is a killer. Oh, great. Okay. Okay, fantastic. This is an advanced copy of a Penguin classic. This is Machado de Assis. This is the posthumous memoirs of Barack Ubas. This is a Penguin classic. It's going to come out in June, early June. It's going to have a foreword by Dave Eggers, but nobody's perfect. And this is a translation by Flora Thompson DeVoe. Okay, so I don't know why I'm showing you this, because that's not what it's going to look like. Obviously, the colors will be reversed. The great postmodernist writer is championed every generation, and every generation he fades into the background, only to be rediscovered by a new generation, who hail him as the greatest writer you've never heard of. I guess that's sort of true. I know a lot of bookish people who've never heard of this author. Now is one of those moments of rediscovery. The author's collected stories were published 2 years ago and thunderously acclaimed in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the New Yorker. Last year, a famous photograph of him was restored to better reflect his African ancestry, going viral online and making headlines around the world. In June, Penguin Classics will publish the first new English translation in 20 years of his masterpiece. Wow. Which is a playful study of ironic disillusionment. I wonder, I'm having a bit of trouble off the top of my head remembering if I actually wrote about those collected stories when they came out. They were reviewed everywhere. It'd be great if they came out in a Penguin Classic. That would be awesome. Or a paperback just in general. I don't think that I've seen that in a paperback. Okay, well, this mail is certainly pleasing. All right, great. This is a Penguin Classic. An upcoming Penguin Classic. Great. And then we'll do this last one, and then we'll be done. We'll be done with the mail. I will keep giving you new mail as long as I keep getting new mail. Oh, this last one is 2 books. Great. Fantastic. Let's hope they're nature. It's a nice retreat from the horrible present into plants and birds. Oh, that Peterson guide. Oh, my. The Peterson Guide is one of those great guidebooks that will give you endless amounts of browsing pleasure, even if you never set foot outside to go looking for birds. I'm lucky in that I have a couple of 2 or 3 places right nearby, an easy walk when it's not freezing cold, an easy walk that have a profusion of birds. So the Peterson's Guide will, even if I don't bring it with me, it'll still give me a lot to reflect on when I get back. Oh God. Okay. All right. Well. All right. Okay. We end this mail haul not with Carefree Nature books. We are going to the absolute opposite end of the spectrum. Oh my. Okay. But there's still books. They might still be good. They might still be interesting. Okay. So these are both from Henry Holt. I'm sorry. If I knew what was in these things ahead of time, I would have arranged this differently. I don't mean to send you away on a grim note. The first one of these is a June release. It's by Benjamin Carter Hett, who wrote The Death of Democracy, and it's called The Nazi Menace: Hitler, Churchill, Roosevelt, Stalin, and the Road to War. So this is yet another book. There are probably 5 of them that I know of that are coming out in 2020 about the days and years and people leading up to World War II. After his successful The Death of Democracy, which focused on the fall of the Weimar Republic, the author moves behind the scenes to document the rise of Nazi power in the 1930s and tackles topics of enduring fascination, the narratives of the worldwide democratic crises, racial conflicts, and the belated recognition of evil with regards to the Nazi Party. So when the hub sheet refers to it as enduring fascination, that is a nod in the direction of the fact that this has been written about 1,000,000 times. This exact subject, these exact people, these exact vignettes, these exact quotes, 1,000,000 times. That doesn't disqualify this thing at all. Obviously, it doesn't disqualify this thing. It could be really, really good. I don't mind that at all. So, okay, so that is early June. This is going to be a $30 hardcover, it looks like. And this next book is just when you're getting up off the mat from all that Nazi stuff, we get more Nazi stuff, because this is the finished copy of Europe Against the Jews, 1880 to 1945. This is the finished copy of that, which comes out in early April. This one was out a couple of months before the other one. Let's see here. One of the most important historians of the Holocaust and the Third Reich. This is in this newest work is the first book to chart the collusion of Europe from east to west, from France to Lithuania, Greece to Hungary, that made the genocide possible. In this book, the author looks closely at the prehistory of the Holocaust, examining the actions and inactions of European countries from the 1880s, when there was a surge of anti-Semitism and nationalism across the continent, until the aftermath of World War II. While there have been books on what happened to the Jews in specific countries, this book is the first coherent explanation of what happened in Europe as a whole and why. I don't believe that claim. I don't believe that claim. I feel certain. And off the top of my head, I can think of 10 books. Maybe there's an element of nuance here that maybe this book does something that the books I can think of didn't do. But I don't think there's any kind of book on this subject that has not already been written many times. And again, as with the Nazi Menace, the key isn't originality of concept. The key is value of execution. So this could easily happen. This author is the author of Hitler's Beneficiaries and Why the Germans, Why the Jews. One of the most respected historians of the Third Reich and the Holocaust. He has received the National Jewish Book Award as well as Germany's prestigious Heinrich Mann Prize. And his books have been translated into 13 languages, and he lives in Berlin. Okay, great. Well, it's a finished copy. It's right around the corner. It's the beginning of April, so I have the advanced copy of this. Once again, I haven't got to it, so this is a lot of this is just a kick in the pants for me to get going. So that is the mail. That is the mail for today. I hope it brought you a little relief. Let's look at these again. This is Europe against the Jews, not the Nazis against the Jews, but Europe against the Jews. Then the Nazi Menace. And then we have The Incredible Journey of Plants, which for some odd reason includes the dodo. That will be interesting to find out what's going on there. The Peterson Guide to the Birds of North America, an absolute classic, updated now. Then The Bohemians by the author of Blitzed. Let's see here, a Norton Critical Edition of The House of the Seven Gables. How fantastic! That goes on the list, even though I have all these other things to read. I'm not going to pass up an opportunity to reread one of my favorite American novels. Then Why We Act, Turning Bystanders into Moral Rebels. Hitler, My Neighbor, now in paperback. And the advanced copy of a new Penguin classic of Machado de Assis, whose collected short stories we saw on this channel. I believe I talked about them on this channel. So there you go. That is there's some new mail. Ordinarily, I justify my mail as, you know, a chance for you to see what's coming out in bookstores and be forewarned and maybe know what interests you and what doesn't. I'm not sure that applies in this case because I don't know how many bookstores are going to be open. I don't know how advisable it's going to be for you to go out and shop in bookstores, even if they are open. So instead, I'm justifying this mail haul because it pleases me to talk to you. It calms me down. It lessens my strength to talk to you, my stress to talk to you. So I hope it helped. I will try to make a couple more videos today. So I'll wrap this up now, but I will be back. Thank you, BookTube.